Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Motivation to youth only. Mentally feel like Kobe. I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili. From young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready. Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the One-on-One Sports Show here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. I'm Mr. Bennett. I'll be joined by the crew very shortly, but again, just want to get the show started and just welcome everyone to the show. Just make sure as you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly as you come in, certainly it supports the algorithm. Also consider dropping a Cash App, certainly to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Certainly help us to support content. We try to bring you content basically almost every day on this channel. And so, I'm sure there's something for everyone here. So again, just make sure you hit that like button, consider a Cash App, and then anything that you may have for us, certainly for the four of us that bring you the show every week. Certainly we appreciate any personal Cash Apps that you send to us. So again, good to be with you guys here on this Wednesday in sports. Lots of going on in the world of sports, particularly with the big thing being the NBA playoffs. And, so we definitely want to get into that topic a little bit. And so while I'm waiting for my guys to show up, I'm just going to get some things started here and just talk about, again, some of the recent events that have happened. Obviously, we have a main topic for tonight that certainly, we like to, certainly chop it up with you guys. Keep it, certainly keeping it clean. And, so we may or may not open up the phone lines. That's not a promise. Depends on the show. We certainly try to end at a reasonable hour. But again, we appreciate, your participation in what we're trying to do here. So just bringing up, just some of the things that are happening in the world of sports. So obviously we had the MVP award that was certainly just given out. So again, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, pretty unanimous in terms of his winning of it. And the amazing thing about it is usually I'm kind of superstitious when it comes to when guys get awards, so award ceremonies, especially before baseball games and whatnot. It's just been in my history. Anytime you do these award ceremonies before a game, that the home team or whoever's getting awarded, that team usually loses. So I'm always kind of leery of having those award ceremonies right before an important game like that. But certainly, having again, well deserved. Certainly the man's put the work in. You can see his performance. Shout out to Coach in the building tonight as well. Certainly. Based on his performance, again, 31 points in the first game, 38 points in the second game. And again, he's just been a dominant player throughout. So the last game, certainly over 30 points. So he's definitely has his benefides as far as proving that he is the MVP and kind of quiet about going about it because, you don't hear about him much. You don't talk about him in the aspect. We're going to talk about this later in terms of who's a superstar in this league. And so obviously the fact that he's garnered his first MVP. And it seems like more likely than not that his team will be going to the NBA Finals. And so, again, if he puts an NBA title on top of it, then, definitely you'll have to add him certainly into the conversation in terms of, one of the faces of the NBA. And I also want to contrast this with and just ask the question. We talked about this sometime last year about Team USA and Olympic basketball. And we were asking ourselves the question, certainly, how long can America hang on being, holding off these world powers? And certainly I'd made a statement that I think the world is here. And one of the things I would love to see is for the All-Star game, if they want to try to do anything with the All-Star game, why not make it Team USA versus the world? And if you look at the previous winners since 2018, 2019 season, they've all been foreign-born players, and some people say Canada's near the U.S., but still he has Caribbean roots and whatnot, and certainly have a lot of guys in the league, certainly from the Caribbean, who are doing well in the league, and so again the question I'm asking is Team USA, are American-born players, Are they losing out? We saw in the draft a couple years ago, the first 6 picks in the NBA draft were all foreign players. So asking the question, I mean, as obviously the NBA is certainly looking to expand globally to find talent, what is going on in the NBA? And why is it that you have this dominance seemingly with foreign-born players not only winning MVPs, but now he's certainly in position to potentially win a championship as well. So, Coach, certainly, again, welcome to the show. And certainly I'd like to get your take on certainly Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the MVP. I think that was pretty unanimous, but your thoughts on his MVP. And also, again, just what we've seen over the last few years in the NBA. And we also have to talk about Africa. Certainly, U.S. basketball is certainly trying to expand into Africa as well. So, so what is going on with the U.S.? Why you think, if you believe that USA is losing ground when it comes to dominance with the NBA? So, your thoughts on that, and we'll get into it.
I mean, I would just say, first of all, salute to you, man. What's up, Shawnee? What's up? I guess, it's just the changing of the guard, per se. He's a young player. He's a team leader. You see how his team rallies around him and supports him after each game. Prior to interviews, he's put up the numbers consistently. They had one of the best records, if not the best, I'm not sure, in the league this year. They've been a team that's been growing. He has solid pieces around him. They could possibly go be the dynasty of the 25s, of the, going into the 30s. They have the team to do it. I don't know what the money would be like, but yeah, salute to him, man. And, his accomplishments. I'm starting to see a trend that, guys, married guys are starting to, elevate a little bit more. So that's a good thing that I see. As far as what you were stating about the USA versus the world, it'll never happen. Not as long as they keep getting Joker and Giannis and these big 6'9", 7-footers winning MVP. United States is going to be stuck with who? Draymond Green. Steph was getting old. So I don't think they'll ever go to that format. You may see a rendition of it.
I'm saying just for the All-Star. I'm only saying for the All-Star
game. Yeah, for the All-Star game. They wouldn't do it because then you have to separate the players in a sense. And United States, who would be an All-Star, a big man. They really don't have a big man.
Right. Well, that's the question. I mean, certainly, Thunder, I think don't have like Chet Holmgren. He could certainly be.
He has to be an all-star first, though. They have to be all-stars.
I don't think it's a. I mean, yes, I think it'd be good if it's an all-star, but if you just want to again feel the best roster you can, because there's a lot of guys who could be all-stars that aren't necessarily all-stars because of obviously you got a limited amount of rosters. But if you decide to split the rosters up, it may open up a spot for another player who could potentially be an all-star to be on there. And centers generally get, kind of excluded from all-star battling. It usually goes, point guard, small forwards and whatnot. They usually get, the numbers because those are guys who do most of the scoring. But if you need some quality big men, Lively from Dallas, I mean, you have some guys on there.
But Mr. Bennett, that's the thing. They have to be all-stars. You can't just say you come play on the all-star team and you're not voted an all-star. Not only the fans won't vote them in, the writers won't vote them in.
What I'm saying is, again, if they go to this format, it could potentially change all-star voting. If you have to choose American players, then that may open up a spot, and then the Europeans will certainly have their players. You have a team of 12 all-stars, international and U.S. It may change up the criteria a little bit, but again, it's just an idea. But
no, I understand that. It was something else that you spoke on. I forget what it was. I think what I see in the world compared to United States. In the United States, you have basketball goals in every neighborhood, every city, every park, just about. So you get I guess you call it a homegrown feel for the game. You watch it on TV. You have players doing camps. You have middle school basketball all the way through high school. So you have an opportunity to develop your skills. And in the United States, I remember guys on Saturday mornings after games working on their craft in the park. And in other countries, they have ambassadors who go over there and promote it and give them the proper training, basic skills that they would need. And some, like start out 5'9", have a 10-inch growth spurt. Now you're 6'9". You don't learn how to dribble. You don't learn how to shoot the three. Those skills don't go away. You're just taller. We saw that Anthony Davis, he was like 6'3" as a guard in high school, grew to 6'10", 6'11". So, yeah, in other countries, they're going to promote it. But in the United States, you have players that could be in the NBA that are not. They're at your local park, jumping over cars, doing 360 dunks, bouncing it off the backboard, can stick their elbow in the rim. So, yeah, they're trying to make it global. I think it's going to balance out American players and foreign players. But so,
I mean, Trey makes a comment here about most of the guys playing in the U.S. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. Giannis play U.S. basketball?
No, basically, Giannis.
Yeah, he did at some point.
And also,
he didn't come once he.
That's right. The
he came to U.S. I think once he became in the NBA.
Yeah, a lot of these guys didn't play a lot of their ball in the U.S. So I'm not sure if that's how accurate.
Now when they come over, they adjust their game. Like, of course, Giannis, main thing he got was get stronger. So once he adjusted, but yeah, so I came in. Y'all was talking about the All-Star if they were changing from U.S. to the world. Yeah, that will open up, because the main thing I don't really like about All-Star games already is they let the fans vote. And that's just so subjective. Like, I remember there was an NBA player who was hurt and they still voted him to start. The fans just vote for their favorite players. They don't really vote for players that I guess mainly deserve a spot on the roster. Not until really the reserves are announced. It's like, okay, this dude actually deserves a spot on the roster. So if you go to the World versus US, that will open up some spots on the US roster, and it'd be interesting to see what players the world will get. But I think there's a lot of. I believe I heard something. I think they said in 2002 or three there was like 23 international players. Now fast forward to in 2022 there was already over 120.
Right.
So over 100 players in that, and then not even including the last 3 years. So there's definitely some international flavor in the NBA now. Um, I think world basketball, because US just barely beat them because
it took a superhuman effort by Steph and the OGs to win that gold medal last time. We barely escaped out of there.
Yeah, we had iconic players on that roster. You remove them, the USA would not have won that.
And they're not coming back. I mean, both of those guys are over 35 years old, so they're not going to be there in 28. So now, what team is the US going to field?
And that'll be the interesting thing, because the main thing though with the world teams, and it wasn't just France, it's Serbia, Germany. They play with each other a whole lot longer. So you remember when the Redeem team in 2008, they made a commitment after that debacle of 2004. Hey,
right,
we gonna play these summer ball. They played in the World Basketball Classic and all that, and the Olympics. They just played. So that's why you saw a difference in that squad instead of the normal. Okay, y'all come together before like 3 weeks or whatever before the Olympics, and practice and try to build chemistry like that. Meanwhile, the world teams, they've been playing with each other. They be playing with each other through these world tournaments, and then they're including the Olympics. So and based on the screenshot you shared with the last 7 MVPs international,
yeah,
that's interesting. I heard this debate on TV one time, and basically here in the States, yes, our players are more skilled, but it's a more of a flashy skill set that young players tend to gravitate to. While overseas, they're really focusing on more on fundamentals per se. But here, you would think US will have talented ball players, but somewhere in the line, maybe AAU, because I'll be hearing things about AAU, how it's basically much a selfish league per se. You're not really getting team ball coached in them. It used to be college where players developed their craft at, and then they took those skill blocks into the NBA and developed even higher. But since they don't stay in school as long now, everybody is one and done, and maybe maximum 2 years, but really of them one and done. They come in the league now. They're trying to develop in the NBA. Meanwhile, the second best professional league over there in Europe, the one that Luca came from, those players, if they come from there, they've been playing professional ball longer than our young guys here. So they already have a legs up when they come over here. And now it's just a matter of can they adjust to the speed of USA basketball, the speed athleticism. And many times they do, and they have legitimate careers. But yeah, it's just when you think about basketball here in the US, it just seems like players are more about me. You hear about stories about that all the time in AAU. And like I say, they don't even stay in college that long to even develop their skills, their craft. So it's just like, okay, once they get into NBA, you hope they can reach their potential while being developed at the same time in NBA. And in the past, they would come in with already some type of foundation and it'd be easier to build upon that in the NBA. Meanwhile, the international players seem like they do be having a more established foundation and they're able to gain success quickly, you know.
So, so I have a question for y'all.
Uh-huh.
Y'all both have a son. Could be potential #1 picks. Go to college his freshman year. Are you taking that sentiment, Shawnee? It's all about me at this time, or do you say, son, stay in school, get a degree? When he could potentially be #1 pick.
Never do that.
Would you say
#1 after?
if they've already projected him #1, do you say think about me, or do you think about the team and stay in school?
Well, I look at it like this. If you projected #1 that year, that means most likely your skill set is high. You're going to be.
He's flashy. He's behind his back. He's Allen Iverson. He's doing all the flashy moves, but it works.
If he's flashy, I probably tell him, man, stay in school and get your fundamentals up.
Ooh.
Because if you got the flash, you got the skill set, and they're already looking at you as #1. Of course, if you get injured, but take all that out. A lot of people like to use that excuse. Hey, what happened if injuries? If you are looked at as #1 one year, it's safe to assume that your skill set is just not going to drop in one off season. Maybe so just go back to school, get your fundamental game up and go because the money going to be there if you're that dude. Okay, maybe you're not pick #1, you pick #2. The money's going to be there. But what I see now, and in the past, yes, take the money but now you see so much now where dudes, okay, you just getting the money, but now you in the NBA and okay, where's your where's your impact now?
He's an average. Most players that come in are average players when they get in.
You got your money, congratulations.
Yeah.
But now, okay, what's your longevity going to be like in the league? How long you going to be in the league? Are you going to be bouncing from team to team?
But Shawnee, again, bouncing from team to team with $3 million annually from team to team, don't you think that would be a pretty good life? Because you look at Drummond. I'll take Andre Drummond. Somebody's been in the league, 10, 12 years, averaging 3, 5, 7, 8 points, continuously bouncing around, continuously getting signed multi-million-dollar contracts. I'm just curious.
But that's what I'm saying. If I'm seeing Trey talking about fundamentals, I was just answering like you was mentioning if the player was flashy. if the player look like he has some pizzazz in him and fundamentals, then yeah, go to the league. But answering your question about if he's look like he's a little bit more flash, because that's me. I like to look at the total game because I've seen too much players come into the league with flash, and then when they get to the league, all people want to talk about is how good they were in college because they're not really showing nothing in the league. Congratulations, you came in the league, you number one pick, but you're not really showing anything. So what I'm looking at is like if your skill set is to a point where you are being looked at as potential number one pick, and it looked like you still have some gaps in your game, why not just go back to school for another year and get that solidified?
I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Because then you, I mean, the same question now, especially again, since the league is going overseas to get these players, they're asking themselves the same questions. Are they now? Again, they might have been playing more fundamental basketball earlier. I would say this. I mean, I'm not a fan of, I guess, the current AAU and this privatization. I don't know if it's necessarily focused on fundamentals or winning. I don't know if this AAU thing, if it's creating a winning culture, or more so just get to the league or get to the money. Whereas maybe in Europe, it may be a little bit different. But again, the fact that the NBA is certainly turning its eyes towards that, could that change? Where then you're going to have these foreign players saying, look, don't worry about it. You're 17, 18 years old and you're 7'2". Go to the U.S. and get the money. Don't worry about trying to win Euro championship or whatnot. So I think a lot of it just depends on the focus. They've had to do that. It used to be they had to be like the best players in Europe to get U.S. attention. Now the U.S. is looking over there intentionally, and now they're going into Africa and doing the same thing. So I think that, again, where that attention is, I think is really that's going to dictate how these players move. If Europe is going to be the main pipeline which they're going to be getting these players, then you could very well see a drop off in the quality of the guys who are coming over, because again, those guys had to work their butts off to get recognized by the U.S. or to get the NBA to invest in scouting, and teams to invest in scouting to go over there and take a look at them. So I think that definitely I think there has to be some adjustment, I think, on the U.S. side. Not so much thinking about the flash or whatever, or not playing against the best competition, but creating a sort of culture that prioritizes winning and make that part of your resume. But guys are like they're getting passed through, and maybe they get to the league and they don't have those fundamentals down. But again, still, if you're number one, to Trey's point, yeah, you have to have some. You have to have. So I'm trying to think. The last time there was like a number one bust. Maybe the last guy was that guy, what, Odin?
No, it's
that 7'2" guy, wasn't he?
No, Markelle Fultz. Hell, I'm looking at him now. So you got the dude who was just picked number one, but he's in Atlanta. Atlanta don't get that much attention, so it's kind of hard to scale. I think he averaged like 12 points a game, and he made like first team rookie this year. But he's for the Hawks. So the only person who get any type of attention on that team is Trae Young. But what's his name? Zachary Rise Archer. He from France, so definitely pronouncing his name wrong. But then you got the last five number one picks were legit. Wembanyama, Paolo Banchero, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson. Zion,
don't put Zion in there. Don't put Zion in.
Well, no, Zion is the truth. It's probably his injuries, but once he's on the court,
still his injuries, his weight, his lack of
dedication. It does not matter.
But you
don't consider Zion a bust?
That was going to be his MO.
Yes, I did. Well, first of all, I picked Ja Morant. I thought Ja Morant should have went number one that year, and I got So again, all my guys would be like, yeah. That, and I don't know, if for American Cooper Flag, I think he's going to be a bust. I hope he's not, but certainly, don't tell the people in Dallas that they are excited to have that guy. I know. Well, again, part of his injuries might have to do with his weight, playing at over 300 pounds and whatnot. So again, I'm not going to say all. I'm not going to give all that just to injuries only. I think certainly. certainly I think he hasn't taken advantage fully of his opportunity, certainly at the NBA level. And, you hear about more stuff, who he's dating and all this kind of stuff versus, serious
like
games. So for me, especially if you're number one and we're not talking about you at this point in time being major in the mix, I consider that a bust for number one. Now, if he was, again, top 5 pick or whatever, then I wouldn't have anything to say. But number one, yeah, I think you're going to have all those expectations that he has not met them in any season since he's been in the league.
Hold on. Zion, does he average over 20, 24 points, 25 points?
When Zion on the court, he's legit. Yeah. You don't know when he's going to be on the court. He has too much on him. But at one time, people was calling Zion like Baby Shaq. Like Zion was like, he was a nightmare for dudes to guard him because he was so strong. But that thing was like a blip in the night, because as soon as it looked like he started getting some attention, something happens, he gone. I'm like, okay, then like you said, Mr. Bennett, you start hearing some off the court stuff. I'm like, okay. And it's just now it look like you start hearing more negative stories, less than positive stories about Zion than what could have been Zion.
No one was more undisciplined than Charles Barkley when he came into the league.
Oh,
and yet even still, he lost 60 pounds in after the first year.
I don't know. I don't
start type of player. So
I'm just saying we can talk about
Charles. If Charles Barkley can dedicate himself to the game, then why can't Zion dedicate himself to the game?
You could say the same thing about Luka, even though you see pictures of him now, he looks slimmer.
Yeah, but Luka's game isn't based on power. He's a lot more finesse. He's not a power guy. I mean, Zion.
Yeah, but he wears himself
on the floor, and power is
But here's the thing, though, and this is just me. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Okay, Luka plays guard, and he plays it overweight, but he performs it at a high level. And he has some injuries, but it's not, I'm out 20, 25 games. So he loses his weight. He comes back. He may be injury prone, may average 25 again, but it's just his ability to handle the ball. Zion, he has injuries that you don't really notice as being bad injuries until the next day when they're saying, oh, he's out 15 games, 20 games. But I just seen the dude walk off the court. So Zion, I wouldn't want him to lose more than 30 pounds. What is he, 270, 280?
No, I wish.
He's about
280 since he was at Duke. He was 285.
Okay, so 260 at Duke. 260, 265 would probably be
275. Because he's only like 6'8". What, he's like 6'8", 6'9"?
Yeah, he can't stay out the strip club, man. That's why he's drinking, he's popping bottles.
I don't know. I mean, certainly, look, this guy, Ian Edwards, obviously, he got his issues. Sean Kemp, but I would still take both of those guys over Zion Williamson. Yeah. I mean, at least, those guys were certainly much better players. I mean, you got a lot more out of those guys so far than Zion's ever given.
284.
280, yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot. That's like when they list Serena Williams at 140 pounds. Yeah, when they list Serena Williams at 140 pounds, I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So you can't go by that. And James Harden. Well, look, James Harden. And when has he lived up to his potential? So I mean, he only should be James Harden was when he had two of the best guys on. He had Westbrook and KG. So
hold on.
James Harden is just a mystery because James Harden
he got a body like Luka. His body and Luka's body
not prime. When he was the Rockets, James Harden was in shape. He just kept mysteriously did not show up in the playoffs, and by not showing up, meaning it looked like the dude just was not mentally in it. Like he wasn't shooting the ball. I mean, he had one game, he shot less than 10 shots. Like, you the number one option in the squad, but you not. The way they talking about Anthony Edwards after the last game, when he had them shots, that's basically been James Harden pretty much his whole career.
Yeah. I mean, how do you say the last game, the closeout game in his past playoffs? I mean,
it's one thing to have a bad game if you're gonna shoot if you're not making shots, but James Harden
didn't have any shots. Yeah.
But speaking of that, let's go. Season, he's just that's the weird thing about Harden.
Yeah, yeah. Trey, you're not wrong about players out in the street. All of them are. So you're not wrong about that. I'm just saying, but you got to perform at the same time. Zion, he seems like he's striking on all levels. He's in the streets, and he's injured, and he's not taking care of his body, his health the way he needs to. That's a strikeout. I mean, so again, give me something. I don't care if you're in the streets, if you're out there balling. I'm just saying, give me something to so you can forgive a lot of stuff if you're performing on the court. I'm just not seeing enough out of him to where then that stuff becomes magnified. But speaking of Van Edwards and whatnot, so again, congrats to Shai Gilgeous for the MVP, and obviously certainly in this series, OKC has a commanding 3-1 lead in this series, and they seem to just kind of get it from everywhere. So again, Shai playing like an MVP, showing up and again, he's got like the quietest 40 points I've seen. He's just so smooth in his game and whatnot. You just look at the stats, like, oh, he almost had a triple double, but he gets scoring from everywhere, hellacious defense from everybody, and they're just stifling certainly Ant-Man and and Minnesota. They just can't keep up. And certainly Ant-Man is not. I mean, if I was going to use a Marvel reference, he needs to be in giant mode right now. You know what I mean? He needs to be in 20, 30-foot mode, and he's playing like an ant at this point. So again, even in the first half of that game, I think he only had like 4 shots in the first half of the game before he got going a little bit in the second half. So my thing is, clearly, I think just Oklahoma, just across the board, they just are the better team. But Ant-Man and certainly Julius Randle, he's in and out. Yeah, sometimes when he's good, and I told you, if he's going to be a contributor, then yeah, they have a good chance of winning. But again, he's inconsistent in these playoffs as well. So I think it's a foregone conclusion. I think Oklahoma City gets a gentleman's sweep in this next game. I just can't see these guys winning. I think it's just they're just outclassed here. And so folks were talking about this is going to go 7 games. I'm sorry to disappoint you. This series is over. It's just too talented, too energetic, and they just got, they got length. I mean, you go into the paint, hand on the ball all the time. They just wear you out. And so I think they're definitely the favorites to win it all.
Brother Bennett,
playing like this.
Everything you saying, I said last week. It's going to go 5.
You did.
Here we are in 5 games. They have the best team. This is their year. And Minnesota's a good team, but I think I can see why he said he doesn't want to be compared to Jordan, because he's not coming out every game with the killer instinct. And that's where his downfall is. Because they have a good enough team to beat OKC, but he has to come out no less than 25 shots a game, whether he's hitting or missing. He has to be the dominant player for the team, but sometimes he's not. And Julius Randle, go down low, brother. Take your left hand, develop a jump hook, get down low, use Rudy Gobert, because they have the – but, again, it's going down. Tonight? Yeah, a few minutes should be starting. Yeah, so –
Yeah. Shawnee, what's your thoughts on the series? I just think it's just top to bottom. This is a better team, better coaching, just everything here. But
it's basically what as the season was going, I was giving people a heads up how good OKC is. He just, they are not a big market team, so a lot of people was just not even paying attention to OKC because, like many people, especially the national audience, only focus on the big market squads. But and what I was mentioning, I brought up last week or a couple of weeks ago that does Minnesota have enough scores to keep up with OKC? And I was saying, like, okay, at the time I was like, okay, Ant-Man, I'm not worried about Ant-Man. And then if Randall, because he was playing good basketball, I was like, okay, do they have a consistent third scorer? I wasn't expecting, mainly, especially last game, Ant-Man was a no-show.
Yeah.
Randall
DiVincenzo hasn't been there.
Yeah, they've been getting more scoring from SGA cousin, Alexander Walker, Alexander Walker and McDaniels has been doing more of the scoring load than definitely Randall. Randall really hadn't did anything since game 2. And I think I was trying to find the stats, but I could not find it because I remember in game 1 when Randall, well, that's when he had that strong first half in game 1, and OKC put Dort on him, and it was over. And I think you haven't seen nothing from Randall since. And that's the thing with OKC. OKC, now that Jalen Williams is playing like a legit number 2, that was the main thing I was wondering if he's going to come out and stay consistent, which he is. So now you have SGA, Jalen Williams. You have the big man in the middle because they have, and then you got other players who fill in like spot up shooters, Caruso,
No,
Isaiah
they're
Joe.
very deep. I mean,
Yeah,
between
they
them and the
are
Pace,
deep.
them and the Pacers are the deep. Clearly
Yeah,
their depth
they
is
and
really paying off in this
and if
playoffs.
when we get to the places when you see because you see that happening right in front of you with that Pacers series when we get there. But
Indeed.
the OKC, the defenders they have to throw at Edwards, all are very good defenders. I mean, you have Caruso, who's just a major pest. Then you have what was it, Wallace? He comes in. Then you have Chet Holmgren, who can he guards the
And
paint very good.
he's hitting 3-pointers like in the last game, so he couldn't
Oh yeah,
miss. He
before
couldn't miss either.
Wemby, because you remember Chet didn't play his rookie season; he was injured. So his second year was actually his rookie season. So that's when him and Wemby was both rookies at the same time. Before Wemby, and everybody was praising about Wemby with his size and his skill set. That's also Chet Holmgren. He just not he just wasn't looked at as the unicorn like Wemby. But Chet Holmgren is tall, skilled. He just kept getting injured, so it literally just took people off his mind. Even this year, he missed like 30 to 40 games, maybe even 60. So, but when he's in the game, you know, he's a focal point. Like he could definitely stamp his impact on the game. So yeah, they just have a wave, and then if I didn't even mention Dort when Edwards got to go against him, and that dude he's just strong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
OKC just have defenders coming at Edwards in droves, and but they still don't have. Like I say, I was giving them the benefit of doubt that Edwards and Randall would be their primary scorers for the Timberwolves, but if they not, because Randall, he basically just took himself out the series. That dude, you talking about somebody who had was a flash in the pan one half and literally have not did anything since.
Yep.
And the reason why game three, I think I sent that in our group text. I expect that in game 3 because you hope to see that from Minnesota because they got dominated the first 2 games. They were just riding on that crowd like super hype, and you can tell because OKC only shot like 35%. It was just everything they was throwing up there was missing. And here come Minnesota, they threw up like 57%. So it's the complete opposite over there. So a team, you expect that, but I say it's going to come back to reality in game 4. And even though it was a good game, both teams was making shots. He wasn't just like, okay, everything one team was throwing up was missing. So now they back in OKC, and that fan base, and they smell blood. They want this thing over with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Speaking, going to the next series again. I think you still may have some juice here, but I got to have some fun with it here. So obviously, sort of shades of the past. I mean, obviously, I go back to, I'm sure Coach remembers Reggie Miller in the Garden and the Nick Killer back in the day or whatever. Although I think he actually played even. I don't think he always killed him, but certainly some very memorable games. I became a fan of Reggie Miller, certainly in that first one when he was going up against staring down Spike Lee after every shot and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that first game, I think our show was on during that first game, and certainly the Knicks were up big. They were up 9. They were up 9 when less than a minute left to play, and the odds of winning, it was 0 in 1,414 games. When you're up 9 with less than a minute left in the game, and they still lost. Certainly the Pacers, that got crazy with the 3-pointers, and Halliburton thought he won it at the end with the shot again, all very reminiscent of KD, and his toe was on the line, and certainly, so he could have ended that game, but they still won in overtime. So I mean, definitely, they took it to him. Won the first 2 games. I mean, had to slip up. They should have. Actually, they were up 20 in the last game. In game 3, should have won that one. And but I guess they got a little full of themselves. And then obviously they, certainly they played very competitive in game 4. But again, they have a commanding 3-1 lead. But I still think the Knicks are a hot dog. One question I have though is, I didn't understand game 2. Now I know that their big man he's having. I think he might be battling some injuries or whatnot. But you leave your big man on the bench until like 2 minutes left in the game. You build up this lead. You take Brunson out. You have a double-digit lead, but then you take I'm having a brain freeze right now. But you take the big man.
Karl-Anthony Towns.
You take Cat out of the game.
Marcus Robinson.
You don't bring him in, and then they start doing the hacker Robinson on him. I didn't understand that. It seems like this is another coach's decision to leave Cat out of the game at that point. Did you guys? I didn't necessarily understand that.
It's bad coaching.
Yeah.
But Thibodeau won't get the. If it was me or you, he won't get the flack because he overworks his players sometimes. And this is what I believe, especially because all season, especially during the regular season, early in the season, you got your 12-man roster, whatever, on your team, right? It's a great time, like mid first quarter, into first quarter, early second, to get those bench players in the game, whether they, whether they are scoring or not, just stress defense for them and let them score off the defense, run the offense. Nobody's trying to be special. But when the playoffs come, those minutes early play dividend in the playoffs. That's why you see teams like OKC that can go 9-10 deep consistently. Those teams have success. Thibodeau, he only works with his top 7, 8.
Yeah, he keeps a short bench. Yeah. You can't, especially this team they're running them into the ground. You see these guys gassed in the fourth.
But that's what a good coach would do. You look at them and be like, oh, we're just going to switch up everybody and run them in and out and tire them down. That's what you do. You looking at the game like, but Robinson, he's a non-factor. What? You put him in the game with no Towns, you take 20 points of score, and then you fire him. He's like Shaq. So.
Well, in the last game, they started Robinson and Towns, and in the beginning, Towns looked like he was kind of out of sync. But Robinson was just kind of stuck in the middle.
Playing D. Yeah, Towns just need to go play D, play mid-range D. He can't be checking nobody at the top of the key. Play mid-range D, get everything backside, block everything backside. All that shit got to go. But he's trying to shoot the threes, and
I believe I spoke about it in the beginning about Indiana just going to run New York to the ground because they have a deep bench. Really, the only other team that plays as deep as them is OKC. OKC play deep in their bench. And they stay moving, even off of makes. They will still push the ball up the court. Yeah, and you look at New York, they just wearing them out. And it's obvious because Indiana's playing a team where the head coach just plays no more. He may go 7 deep, maybe, but he likes to run at 6. But I think he goes by 7 deep, and Indiana just runs the ball up and down.
Yeah. Even after they made shot, they just, like I said, they wear you out. So I guess, you think by default, you got to expand your bench, give you guys a rest. Again, Brunson got rest.
He has been going to his bench a little bit more this series, but he don't keep him in there that long because he basically, when the game starts getting tight, he puts his starters back in there. And now, because Karl-Anthony Towns, he always, I think even in the regular season, he was playing good versus Indiana. But yeah, the way Indiana just moved, you can see, you know, I think they showed it last game. Tibbs was talking to his team during a timeout, and he was telling them, "Y'all have to run to get back on defense. Run to get back on defense." I'm like, and this was like in the first between the first and second quarters.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
probably trying to reserve some energy because they know Indiana's just gonna
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going.
they gotta run them down. I mean, and I think I said I think game 3, I think Indy beat themselves. Again, they were up big. I think they were fooling themselves a little bit, and they do have a tendency just to just start yakking up threes. You saw that in
Yeah,
game
they look
4
lost. They
at the
look
beginning of the
lost.
second half. They just came out. It was like 3 or 4 straight possessions. No set plays or whatever. They just came down just jacking it up. I mean, unfortunately for them, the Knicks missed their shot, so they're well defended on the other side. But they just have these lulls where they just they fall in love with 3-point shot, which I think is one of the reasons why the Knicks have certainly been able to get back into these games. And certainly one of the things that I'm thinking that potentially why they could still win this. So I mean, obviously they're going back home. They're going back home for game 5. And they have a record here. So the Knicks, where they'll be down by 20 points in a particular game, come back to win it. So again, the last game that they won 106-100, they were down 20 in that game. They were to come back and win it as well. And they certainly made a game of it coming back this time. It's just that, certainly Halliburton and the crew were certainly able to make their shots to, any comeback that they tried to come back and to try to get back into the game. Indiana had an answer this time. And we have to talk about my man, Pascal Siakam, who, obviously this guy's got championship pedigree, but he's been balling out. I mean, all the talks have been about Halliburton, but Pascal Siakam, I mean, he probably be my MVP for the series so far because they got no answer for him either.
When
And
the
so,
team was first put together, Siakam was supposed to be option number 1 before. But can you remember Halliburton came from Sacramento in a trade,
but also Siakam come as an all-star too. He's a former all-star.
Yeah, that's why from Toronto. So
It
he was
worked
supposed to be
perfect.
option number 1. Now it's between him and Halliburton. They go back and forth.
But again, when we're talking number 1, listen, Hallenberg is the point guard. He's going to develop into one of the best point guards over the next 4 or 5 years. He's averaging 8 or 9 assists a game, right? So early in the season, last year he was 25 a game, 7, 8 assists. Cool. Magic Johnson numbers. Now, early in the season, his game was off. He had a lot of shit going on. Since that little incident with his father, it's refocused him, and he's showing that he's one of the best all-around players. And I think that's going to put them past New York. It's unfortunate. New York has to win game 5. They have to win it. But Hallenberg, he has the ugliest shot I've ever seen, but it's going in the basket. That's all that counts.
I've seen uglier.
I'm just saying, I've seen Jamal Wilkes used to go around his head, but he's like
Michael Kid Gildress, that dude. I don't know how he shot his ball.
Oh, okay, yeah, he used to shoot it like
exactly.
Like what? Yeah, okay, Hallenberg, I get him. But he sees the court well. Hallenberg, he sees the court well.
He do.
And he's hitting players on the way to the basket. And everybody else is playing good D. New York got too many flat foots. Those guys you saw, all them guys run with heavy feet. You can see how when they run down the court, it's just heavy stomping feet.
They getting tired a little bit.
Well, but that's why Thibodeau's a bad coach to me, because he drives his players instead of playing them. He ain't really got no offense. Them guys, everybody go one-on-one. But they call him one of the best. But you see what's happened. Every team he's had, he's broke them at the end. Derrick Rose, MVP. You play him, he get hurt. His career never recovered. Every team he's gone. Minnesota
got Brunson, and people didn't know Brunson was going to be this Brunson coming out.
Well, I knew it. That's why they traded him, because they had Luka. I didn't understand why they chose Luka and Brunson at the same time, same draft. Dallas did.
Well, Luka was.
They knew what Luka was going to do.
Number 1, and Brunson was point guard number 2, and Brunson didn't shine until Luka got injured one playoff game. So he wasn't going to. Because a lot of people like to give the Mavericks flack for letting Brunson walk. According to Brunson, though, he did an interview on All the Smoke, and he was like, "Nah, he he wanted to. He didn't mind staying in Dallas. It just became a money thing, a contract thing.
But they
Dallas,
also, because Dallas knew he was going to be, he's a starter for real. They know that he was a starting point guard coming out of college.
yeah.
In the
So
NBA.
that's what I tell people. I'm like, Brunson needs the ball in his hands to be the Brunson we see in New York.
Just like
I
Luka. Just like
exactly.
Luka.
So
So you
you
draft
wait.
the same type of player makes no sense. I would have gotten me a
Well,
big guy.
at the time he was supposed to be point guard number 2.
I know, but still, why would you take a starting point guard to make him a point guard number 2? No, this gives you. Dallas wasted a draft pick on that. I would have let, like you see, because you see how they traded Brunson within 2 years. He's over in New York starting, averaging 28, 27, all-star numbers, right? So to draft him makes no sense. Now, if they would have kept him, okay, now Luka's gone. Now he would have been there, but they got Kyrie. So sometimes it was just a bad draft pick. You know,
yeah,
they couldn't get
Luka.
a big.
We never thought that Mav was gonna trade Luka. That was just so spontaneous.
So it had to be something. So it might be true about Luka's work ethic. So hopefully he's working hard.
It was according, if you go with listen to Nico, Wade, there was some kind of Luka kind of rubbed some people the wrong way as far as his lack of focus at times, I guess, but mainly just weight and whatnot. But when you look at that trade, I guess it all looks well now because they looked up and got the number 1 pick. But it definitely, because usually if a franchise player gets traded, there's some smoke. You will see something like the player will start complaining about some, hey,
going back and forth with the management.
Exactly.
But it was a smooth transition, wasn't it? It was smooth.
Dude, it came out of nowhere. I mentioned it on here. Like, I was literally just laying on the couch, and I thought somebody hacked into Sham's Twitter or whatever. And
I seen it.
It was no warning sign at all. So,
but see it again. When you look back, something had to be more because Luka.
Oh yeah, if you look at Nico, Nico was like almost like he was like on a smear campaign when he kept trying. Everybody kept asking at the time of the trade, like, why, and it made it look like that he, like we said, like Wade, lack of defense, all this stuff, which was not surprising to Mavericks fans here in the DFW area. But it was like, okay, this dude even with all that, he just took you to the NBA Finals just a year ago. I mean, so
I think Dallas panicked. I really do, because Dallas had one of the best up and coming teams, even with Luka and Kyrie there together, and they big men that they had, Lively and those guys. I think they would have had a really good team together just to see them come back next year, because we already know. But it's going to be interesting, man. Kyrie's out for a whole nother year. You don't have no Brunson. You don't have no Luka.
Well, they hoping he'll be back.
Yeah, you better stay out. Kyrie ain't in your 20s. No, Kyrie, you better keep your ass out to March after the All-Star. Don't let them folks rush you back, buddy.
You've been in the league for February. I think that'd be
no. He's been in the league too long. He's in his 30s. Sit your ass down, bro. Come back healthy. Don't do it. Don't do it, man. They took your shoe deal too, man. No, sit down. Give you your shoe deal back, then we can come back and play with some Kyrie's on.
Well, I know earlier we was talking about Halliburton, and this seems to be the topic right now, a debate topic right now, when it comes to like national media. Because I heard, several personalities debate this point. I know, and we talked about it on this show at one time. Like, what is a superstar?
Correct.
And now, because obviously this is like revisionist history. Like, everybody got like they looking at just now with Tyrese Halliburton. You got people saying Halliburton is a superstar. I'm like, no, he's not a superstar. I mean,
according to a fan, he is. A fan, yeah, he's a superstar.
If just like how players make their names in the playoffs. That's true in every sport. I mean, you hear people say that in college basketball, March Madness. Those players really get their name in the tournament. NBA is the same thing. Once because you got the national media's attention in the playoffs because not that much teams do. It's only
Of course,
so much games to
everybody's
watch.
focused on the playoff teams.
Exactly. So
Everybody,
that's when your
even the,
name grows. If you show up in the
even
playoffs, that's why right now, Anthony Edwards, everybody was talking about, man, who's next face. They kept promoting him to be potentially one.
he
But
said
since
he ain't
he's been
want it.
kind of struggling,
He said he ain't
people
want it.
like, yeah, he doesn't want his game will say, okay, you can be potentially a face because he plays fearless
Yeah,
basketball. But he
but he
doesn't
ain't want
want
the
that face attention
he
off
ain't
the
want the
court.
responsibility. He ain't want the
Exactly.
responsibility because
And
we
I
see
tell
how he
people,
was moving.
yeah, and I tell people when they come to the face, I'm like, "Ooh, I think it may be a while because when you're a face of a league and it kind of coincides, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, we was talking about superstar. Face is definitely that's icon. That's a next whole different stage.
Yeah, that's a
But a face in
LeBron,
the
D
league is
Wade.
basically, yeah, because when you the face, even with LeBron, he just so happened when during his career, all of a sudden social issues was highlighted. So when you the face,
But
even people who are not associated with the basketball crowd, they are looking at you. All these other NBA players could say stuff about whatever, but when LeBron says something, next thing you know, you see articles, you see the most reaction online. Everybody will start paying attention to LeBron. Even Patrick
yeah, that's a
Beverly said one
superstar.
time when they asked Patrick Beverly during COVID, "Are you going to play in the bubble?" Even Beverly said, ask LeBron. If he say yeah, we're gonna be there. So they know like that is a
Yeah,
face,
he's the king.
you know,
Yes, now
and
that's the Michael Jordan superstar status. Not very many players have that.
yeah,
Hallenberger, it's just funny how things work out in the end, right? Last year, set the bench, didn't even get in the whole Olympics. Maybe what, one game, I
he
think. I
wasn't tripping
mean,
about that. He wasn't tripping about that.
but look how it works out when he come back full circle. Again, he just came off a great year last year. He starts the season off, they're like, oh man, he done dropped off. He was averaging like 16, 18 points.
Yeah,
He done dropped off. He ain't this. Now here it is, 4 games, 8 games into the NBA playoffs this year. Now he's back to the all-star superstar level, which he is an all-star. They have to legitimately keep him an all-star because he's going to continue. He's not the superstar.
yeah,
He's not that. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to break through in this. You know what I'm saying? Now that they've put the off-court issue behind him, and now I think because out of all the players I see in the playoff, his focus is beyond most other players. Him and Shea, they focus is the top, and they have a cast around them that don't even care about the limelight. They care about getting to that ultimate goal. And those teams right there are the best and the scariest team for any opponent. I love to see players like that. So
I say the Knicks are kind of like that too. They just play because
they got the wrong coach, Shawnee. They got the wrong coach.
Yeah, they
rid of
whole
him.
thing is just they
get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get you a power forward. Get you a good, strong 6'9", big shoulder power forward that can get on there and rebound and get rid of the coach.
Well, they used to have that with Randall, but then they traded him for Towns, and I think it worked out for both teams.
These dudes ain't power forwards no more. They soft forwards because everybody want to go out and shoot.
Well,
they need somebody Dale Davis type.
It's positionless basketball. You could thank Don Nelson for that with the Mavericks. Positionless basketball.
Yeah,
you got to play. Your number says you're a 5, but you got to be able to shoot the ball from the perimeter.
Yeah.
If you're a 5, you could just be a rim runner and a defender. But most of the time, 1 through 4, you got to be able to stretch the floor. But yeah, I'm looking at what CJ say. You can't be the best player on the team in the Eastern Conference Finals and not be at least considered. And that's the thing, because people use superstar.
He's an all-star. He's an all-star.
Yeah, because he hasn't accomplished anything yet for him to have a superstar. He made the 3rd team All NBA this year, not even the 1st team. So I mean, right now everybody uses that word so loosely. I mean, superstar is you are accomplished. You don't necessarily have to be a champion because
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was a superstar because he had cultural influence. But everybody don't have to have cultural influence, but they're just so, even though you haven't reached a championship, you can still be a superstar if you have, accomplished stuff. But with
Yeah.
Halliburton, you basically, the easy thing about a superstar, will fans, if he comes to your city, or fans buying a ticket to come see
Come
him,
see. For sure.
and Halliburton, no. It's like,
For sure.
they'll say, "Oh, we come to see the Pacers," if
Yeah, the
they,
Pacers.
but not Halliburton. And that's like
So
the easiest, I guess,
yeah.
checklist, checkbox
So
that I go to. Be like, okay, are you a superstar? And people be like, yeah, he's a superstar just because he's playing good. He's putting some good stats right
correct.
now. But has he accomplished
But
anything as
right.
far as the total of his career?
No.
Or, I mean, you just spoke about how he did not log any minutes on the Olympic squad. So I guess somehow between Olympics
So
and
so
playoffs, he became a superstar.
right. But again, doing early in the
Oh, it
season,
looked like I don't know if you.
he only averaged like 16 points, right? So
He
to the
might
chat, I can hear you, son. Oh, so to
Can you
the
hear me now?
chat, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
So
hear you.
so to the chat, can a superstar, since if some y'all rate him as a superstar, can he average less than 25 points and still be considered a superstar? Or could he average Magic Johnson numbers? 20 points, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5-6 assists, 2 steals. Would that make him a superstar, or is he just considered an all-star? Because like Shani said, he's coming to your town. Are you going to see Halliburton? Are you going to see the Pacers? Now you go to Indiana, he's going to be a superstar.
Exactly, 'cause he's local.
But again, Indiana is a Midwestern city, a nice city if you've never been to visit. They have great events for African Americans, so check them out during the summer. But yeah, I think his star is rising. His star is rising.
Most definitely.
And if they win the championship, they're going to be riding his coattail. They're going to be riding his coattail. So be surprised if they win it, then we can see.
And at that time, we could come back to this and see, because he wins a championship and he made his name in these playoffs. Okay, so in order for me to officially label him as a superstar, okay, let me see how you go through the next season. Because now you're going to have the spotlight on you. Now the light is going to be on you. And you can't really come out struggling or producing like barely all-star numbers. A superstar means you are a marquee player now. Like we always say, fans are coming to see you when you come to their respective cities, so they really expect to see an elite game from you. So it's just now sports fans throw the term superstar out way too much and the term elite. Everybody just use those two terms. They just throw them out. Really. Are you everything good up there, Mr. Bennett?
I think so. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think my whole internet went down out here, so I think it's on its way back. So
and I had that
hopefully I
prime
won't go out
code
this
in
time. Yeah.
No,
Just
but
one
we was
step
just
above
getting
Dalton.
I don't know if you was able to listen to us while you was
Well, yeah, that was actually the next block I was going to be talking about. Certainly
okay,
is Tyrese to be a superstar. So you guys carried on the conversation brilliantly. And but yeah, I mean, I obviously certainly with this with obviously Shea winning the MVP this year, and you see with the first team, second, so he's on third team All NBA this year. So I think he's certainly on a path to that. But again, superstar, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. Not only your ability on your court. Again, are people going to stay up to see you play? Late, like I said, when Steph and the Warriors, when they had their championship run, a lot of guys on the East Coast, they were getting high East Coast ratings. People staying up past midnight to watch Steph and certainly the Warriors play. So I think there's a marketing component to that. I think there's obviously there's a skill set to it. And again, he doesn't have to be. I mean, we see the depth on this team. He doesn't have to be the superstar. Now, contrasted like Ant-Man, like I said, Ant-Man needs to be Giant Man if Minnesota is going to have any chance of winning. Right? He's going to have to be averaging 35, 40, just like Shea is, if they want to win. But even here, again, had a triple-double, no turnovers. And just given all the controversy with his dad, he's been able to play through that controversy with his father and everything. So, yeah, I think he's certainly well on his way. And we're talking about who is going to be the face of certainly U.S. basketball. And certainly going forward, he can certainly make a case. He could be one of those guys in the future if he continues to play this well and show up in big spots. But again, also with MVP, with superstars, I think certainly an MVP. So I would say definitely Shea Gilchrist is certainly a certainly a superstar, MVP, championships and whatnot. So I still think that Tyrese has to fill out that resume a little bit more, but he's certainly making certainly a good showing of himself this year in the playoffs. And certainly, but yeah, so definitely an all-star. I wouldn't put him at superstar status as of yet. But shout out to our guy Dante. Certainly, thanks. Glad you were able to make it tonight. But what's your take on this topic? I know you had some thoughts and comments, but if you want to speak on those now, you can.
100%. How y'all doing, fellas? 100%. He's not a superstar, but in the realm of you are an all NBA performer, so there's nothing wrong with being that. We use the word too loosely. When honestly, when I think of Halliburton, I love his game, but I'm not buying a ticket just to go see him. I'm gonna leverage it to be like, who are you playing? If they're playing the Bucks, I will pay to see Giannis. 100% pay to see Giannis. I'll pay to see Luka, LeBron, like the main stars, the KDs, the Stephs, which the guys are going out, which leads into the conversation about the American ball player and the foreign ball player. We need some more stars that we're going to say, hey, I'm paying a ticket for that. Because I love Anthony Davis, and he went off on the game I saw, but I was more so going to see my team in the Lakers and not just him, even though I really like his game. So, Mr. Bennett, this is one that we are lockstep in what we believe and what a superstar is. It don't always happen, with you being a Steelers guy. And but now we are lockstep in this one. But the thing is, two conference finals appearances back to back, about to be a finals appearance. This is how you get to that stage. That's why, honestly, I was rooting for Ant-Man to make it. But like I said, he just didn't have enough yet and, fell short. And I say shout out to Trey. He's been making a lot of good points in the chat like he normally does. So shout out to Trey.
Absolutely.
Well, I put it like this. I include this, and I know folks in the chat gonna hate it but it's the easiest illustration I can make right now. Because here in Dallas, I can see how much, the Cowboys and stuff, the way we talking about with Halliburton and the draw that he has, if it comes to your respective city, it's easy to see that in the NFL. Like when I look at a Cowboys ticket price, if say, like I already know if whoever comes and play at AT&T Stadium, based on the teams, you can see the ticket prices will reflect that. So if it's going to be Philly, will it be KC, Buffalo? You already know the ticket prices is going to be high.
Lamar
NBA, theirs is like, okay, if it's the Knicks, because that is a big market squad, the Knicks, the Lakers, you're going to see when the Mavericks play the Pacers, and if they play them over here in AAC, look at the ticket prices compared to other squads. It's easier to see that in the NFL because they only have 8 games here. So it's easy for me to notice that. NBA, they play, was an 82-game season, so what's that, 41 home games? So Correct. You got to really look. But that's a way that you could see, okay, how much respect, I guess, for lack of a better term.
How much do you move the needle?
Exactly. Okay, that's How much do Indiana move the needle? Because regardless if they win a championship or not, they making their name right now. Because this is back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Well, no, they didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals. Did they make? They did make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, they made it back-to-back. They made it last year.
They lost against Boston, and they had a good performance then, but they didn't have Halliburton at the end. But They have back to back. So how much will they move the needle when they come to your respective cities, and you can see the pricing? Will it fluctuate, or will it just kind of stay average like
Right.
it do for
Plus,
other
also
people
just
in the field?
endorsement deals. I mean, who you putting
Exactly.
on the Wheaties box? Who's going to do the Sprite commercials?
Now I
Who's
believe
gonna
Halliburton is
do,
going to get some endorsement after this
yeah,
postseason. I believe that's going
man,
to happen.
that's part of it too. I mean, and it's interesting. Someone made a point earlier about the whole idea of like the face of a franchise or superstar level. Someone made a point earlier that a lot of these guys, they tend to be married. There's very few guys who are like bachelorette status that is, especially if you want those mainstream
said that.
endorsement deals. Like even Tiger Woods back in the day, he was married for a while until everything went to pot after that, after all the stuff came out.
Everything
But
changed for
they
him at
like
the
guys
end.
who are stable, have either a steady
Yeah.
girlfriend, a wife. Jordan now look, I'm not saying these guys are faithful, right? MJ, we all know that marriage was kind of
Can't say they
staged.
wasn't.
You know, I'm just
Can't
saying,
say they wasn't.
but
Mr.
companies
Bennett,
like that. They want
that's
to
a
see
good point
guys
about
who
that.
kind of,
Yeah, it's usually.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you can look at all sports and see that when players sort of reach that level of family, whatever part of their career, it's a lot of them that do it young in their career. They seem to, I guess not get the bad flack that most of those players that we know go to the club. We know going to the strip club after the game. They pull up in Houston, Dallas, Friday night. You know what I'm saying? Dante the bouncer. Yeah, they coming. They coming. They know it. They got the money. They check his on Tuesday.
I'm just saying, yeah.
It was funny.
It's a big deal. KD is the only one that I can think of record that's a mega star that is not linked to someone serious or been married for the majority of his career. And that's the only one I can think of. But Steph because it's an image that they can sell and it helps you be more marketable. And I want to say, Coach Herm Edwards, he said it once. The guys that tend to be the better players have their life together off the field, and then you see the results on the field, and it's just more stable and you're more consistent because you got people relying on you. And like you say, Coach Bird, not the people relying on you are the people at the parties and the promoters, and you're not as focused. Even if it's just the image thing. With James Harden, it's been definitely. Unfortunately, he hasn't done it in the playoffs, so people will link that even if it's not linked directly.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at the two biggest players of this generation, Steph and LeBron. I mean, LeBron's known his wife since they were teenagers, ever since Steph got into the league and whatnot. And, when he won his rings, he had his babies there and stuff. So, I mean, his wife has always been a present, there. So I think, like I said, if you want to get into that sort of mainstream status, where everybody wants to follow you like that. Yeah. I mean, being married doesn't hurt. The only guy, when they were talking about the only time you had a bachelor guy who was really like that, was like go back to all the way to Joe Namath. He had that bachelor lifestyle for a while, Broadway Joe and all that, and that kind of gigolo lifestyle. But that meant it played in New York, but I don't know if that would have played in the South or whatever.
Listen,
in middle America, no, that doesn't play.
It wouldn't have played for no brother anywhere. You see what happened to him. Every last one of them just sort of do that.
Yeah. Cam could have. I mean, Cam had it going on before he got the injuries. Cam was, he was out there.
Well, you look at
he never had.
Because Kobe, I mean, he had a wife, but he was still able to keep his.
But that's what I'm saying. But yeah,
even after
I'm saying he messed that up, but he never got those
yeah.
deals. He never got those deals. Once that happened, all those deals, he had Sprite commercial, all those endorsements that he had. All that stuff went away. He made a lot of money from basketball, period. But I'm talking about if you want Sprite or Wheaties or any of those, you can't be having those kind of scandals, man. Because like I said, a lot of middle America and a lot of those folks don't like that kind of stuff.
No, sir.
Yeah. But moving on to the last block, I'm gonna try to stay with you guys. Like I said, we got a big storm out here, so my internet's kind of going in and out. But obviously, want to save this last topic of the night, the main topic of the show. So obviously, we talked about this a little bit last week. I just find it interesting that certainly both of these women, certainly in their own lanes, are certainly making a name for themselves as individual players. I mean, certainly Caitlin Clark is certainly we all know what the numbers are. Certainly in the league in terms of her impact on the league. Angel Reese is certainly making her on the court, making her presence felt. Again, I'm not saying she's the greatest player. She's not on A'ja Wilson's level, or even I don't even know if she's on Caitlin Clark's level. But she's having a good NBA career, and she's certainly with her looks and everything, she's certainly making a name for herself. But obviously, we talked about this a little bit last week. So again, there was a hard foul in the game last week, and there was just like in the male game, you're going to get hard fouls and whatnot. People get up, emotions run high. But again, just given the tension since the college days when it was LSU in Iowa, the hand in the face and all the rings and all this kind of stuff, there's always been this attempt almost sort of to artificially create a situation. Now, Bird and Magic, I think that was just special. I mean, you just had guys who really, they came in and saved the NBA. Here, it just feels a little bit more artificial, but everyone seems to be in their feelings about these players looking at them one way or another instead of just being players. So then you figure the conversation was initially, they talked about it initially. Yeah, they don't like each other and whatnot. And again, that's kind of within the game. But then you had two commentators who they had to chime in and give their 2 cents on it. So again, it started with RG3, who basically had had some things to say about April Reese, just like Emmanuel Acho last year. He had some things to say about Angel Reese, and people certainly coming at him. And this time, though, and specifically in this case, when RG3 was making his commentary, his wife was in the background. And as we know, he's been married twice to white women. Again, I got no problem with that. But certainly the optics of it was such that I think it ticked a lot of people off. And certainly it ticked Ryan Clark off, who basically has a history with RG3. They were teammates in Washington. And then they were teammates on Monday Night Football. And it seems like there's a personal beef between those two that goes beyond just even these two players. But nevertheless, we're still in this conversation. And so basically, Ryan alluded to the fact that how can he speak on black women essentially when you haven't been married to one? And certainly, then RG3 comes back and says, he crossed the line. Now, again, just in context, he said nothing about his wife personally.
Yeah.
I think the attack was more so on RG3 and him, the way he was talking, and he was doing a sassy thing with his hands talking about black women. That I think certainly set Ryan off, and I'm sure a lot of other people off as well. But he did not come after his wife nor his children. But then RG3 penned it that, yeah, you're coming after my wife and kids, and ESPN should fire you basically, and all these kind of things. So it kind of got heated, got to a point where certainly Ryan on his Pivot podcast, that's the thing, he wasn't even representing ESPN. He was on the Pivot when he said that.
Yeah.
But he went back on the Pivot and he gave an apology, for involving his wife and his family in the situation. And, so again, but we're just having this conversation constantly about, certainly Caitlin Clark's effect on the game. Is there some jealousy from the black players, the black women in the NBA, the polarization in the game, even though the game is at its best? And you can see that certainly both of them are doing very well. I think even April Reese, I think she's even gotten her own shoe deal recently. So again, so they're doing well, certainly well beyond the WNBA pay grade, but we keep getting pulled into these conversations. So, thought we'd, everyone, kind of opine on this. I would just say, yeah, I think Ryan might have went a little bit too far. Clearly you've never liked RG3, even going back to your playing days. I get that. But I think that was certainly something, if you had something to say, I think you should have probably reached out to him personally on that. It didn't have to blow up. And again, it just takes the emphasis certainly on what these ladies are trying to do. I think both of them are good for the game in their own ways. They're not the same kind of player, but I think they're both good for the games. And I think that, certainly the WNBA has an opportunity here to really, pick up some momentum here and certainly increase the pay scale for everybody. But we keep getting pulled into these conversations. So again, probably inarticulate in what he was trying to say, not to say that people don't feel the same way that Ryan does. I know that for a fact, that certainly for him to do that. But, what say you guys certainly on this issue? And we'll just, you guys want to come back and have a conversation on it. But we'll start with Coach and we'll just go down the line.
I mean, I'm gonna go backwards. You know, it's funny. You know, Ryan Clark and Angel Reese, they have a connection. They both went to LSU,
Right.
so in a sense, I can see him. People go to your alma mater. You know, what I'm saying, you have a little softer heart. With I guess the issue of, okay, so I'm on YouTube. Things I say, things I do affect me. You all can take this, everything I've done, and clip it and say, look at that bald head dude. Man, the bald head dude. I put myself out there. I said the things I said. I live with them. I can't control how the media world, and not even just the media world, people critique me. I can't. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, I don't think, the criticisms. Again, when I talk about my family and y'all my family, I like to be around my family when I talk about y'all. I ain't gonna go to the world and talk about my family. I just ain't gonna do it because I might think I'm doing, just a justice for myself, but y'all still my family. And so if I spit on you, I can't say you can't slap me back. You go come back, however you come back. So, just the whole why I think, I don't know, it was just poor taste to have. I don't like my wife around when I'm talking YouTube shit. I don't like her around. My wife be up in her room, sleep, watching TV. She doing her shit. When she asks me, you go downstairs? Yeah, boom. She's off. She's good. Huh? So again, but if I'd had her and she's in the background sipping her tea based on hearing the tea, because see, people put those things together. Oh, she's sipping on tea and he's talking tea. So Ryan Clark, I can see, but just to the incident, did you say something about the incident between these two ladies? I ain't gonna get into
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, obviously, again, it started with the hard foul in the game.
Yeah, just the hard foul.
And
listen,
yeah,
they have a history. It's the first time Caitlin Clark has been able to get back at Angel Reese. Basic hard foul. She fails. She got up. No harm, no foul. Everybody else make a big deal of it. Caitlin Clark is gonna foul her plenty more times. We've seen where teams the Angels played on, they intentionally went out to Caitlin. And now that she's out of the game, guess what? NBA go sit back and evaluate all these non-attenders that don't fill up these seats. So just be careful.
Just for context, I think Caitlin Clark has an injury at this point.
Yeah, she has an injury, a little strain.
A strain. She's gonna be out for at least 2 weeks.
So look, all those games, a lot of people come. She's generating millions of dollars to the league. Shut the hell up. Let the girl play some basketball. So all the little slow kids coming up that want to play WNBA, they can make the money that she generates. That's how it happens. Other than that, don't be fouling her too hard because the league will start finding you. But I could be wrong.
Well, that whole play, Reese, I think it was Aaliyah Boston. She pushed Boston in the back. Clark saw that and basically just gave Reese a receipt with a hard foul, and Reese took exception of it, and that's when But to me, that's just all competitive juices. You know what I mean? You see that all the time. Coach, what you brought up that last point about basically rise and tide, rise all ships point. Basically, that's the point that many male sports fans go to. Like, it don't matter really who is currently in the league, but if they bring in all this attention to it, it's going to benefit everybody, the sport as a whole. Now, you already seeing it with the sport getting franchise, create new franchise. In particular, one in San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. Yeah.
And they doing very good with attendance, and they got nothing to do with Clark. They doing very good with attendance. So, at the time, like me and Houston, we had the Houston Comets, but because they were struggling with money stuff, they had to take them out. But now they back. They at a time now where they can add new franchises. So the league is benefiting, and it could be from Clark, and it also it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a wave. It's really these younger WNBA players come. They're really making a name in college. I know Clark. You got Reese. You're gonna have Juju when she comes out. Paige Becker's up here in Dallas. She's doing her thing. These this new blood, 'cause they really making their names. 'Cause I know we was talking about in the NBA about that #1 pick and all that. The male side, they don't really stay in college too long, but it's opposite on the women's side. They do,
Yeah, because
and they really
I mean,
establish
salaries.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
plus those
salaries.
salaries are just still
Yeah,
pretty low.
but they make their name in college, and that fan base is following them into the pros. So it's a lot of I know Clark gets a lot of attention, but I think once Juju comes in, she's gonna have her fan base. But as far as the other players are jealous of Reese, I think many because it's still a predominantly black league, just like on the men's side. But there, and you see this especially with fans when they're trying to undercut Clark's ability because they love to point out, well, she's not as good as this player, that player, as far as their total game. I'm like, okay, that's great. Yes, the NBA
That makes no
players,
sense.
WNBA has better players,
That
overall
makes no
players
sense.
than Caitlin Clark, but obviously they're not getting the attention of Clark. The reason why
Not
Clark
true.
got so famous in college is because she had that Steph Curry type shooting ability where she was pulling up from deep, and that was just unique to the women's game. She was doing that so consistent, and the fact in the big games she was showing up when they made it to the tournament. Caitlin Clark was showing up, and a lot of times, even though they lost to LSU, it was basically Caitlin Clark in Iowa. You really can't really name any of her other teammates. It was just Caitlin Clark in Iowa, and she was leading them to the Final Four. What's up, coach?
Now I have a question. Caitlin Clark is averaging almost 20 points a game.
hmm
So
But Caitlin Clark,
I don't
so
know. She has good
Caitlin Clark
skills. She
is
averaging 20. I'm just saying.
well, no, she do,
Yeah.
but I still ain't gonna put her over an Asia Wilson. I still think
Well,
Asia
no,
Wilson is the best.
it's a
But yeah,
guard and a forward.
Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, when she had, her, I gotta really go down, but there's technically still there's even if you go in the past, you had Cynthia Cooper and whatnot. There's
Keisha
been
Collier.
better players who have been in WNBA, but they have not had this following that Reese had. I mean, that Clark has coming into the WNBA. She's not. It's not like she was the best player that come into the WNBA. No, there's been Juju Watson. Watkins may have a better overall package than what she do. Have a better overall package, but I still don't think the level that Clark is at, Juju is not there. And that's just okay. If she has this following, use it. But like I say, I still take Asia Wilson when it comes to if you're trying to start a franchise per se, 'cause I think that's the best player in the WNBA. But that's the thing when the women, and I'll be noticing like a lot of women analysts, they try to keep focusing on like basketball, and especially when they debate like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is not demoting that, but when it comes to the WNBA, it's no secret that the NBA is giving you lifeline after lifeline. You costing the NBA money, but they ain't gonna get rid of you now. Now I think this year they may have a chance the first time to be, finish what's that? Finish without losing money. So you losing money. So a lot of times with the
Finishing in
male,
black.
yeah, finishing the black, the male analysts, they know this. They try to tell, dude, this is the way to get money. I understand basketball, 'cause especially when I be hearing like Chanel Gumugwe and what's the other one?
Monica
Forget
McNutt.
Monica McNutt, but and also the other one. Her and Gumugwe are close,
Yeah.
but they always talk about basketball, which is valid. But
Mhm.
it's also when we're talking about the money and stuff, that's a
Indeed.
business aspect that they just
Right.
won't
Which
want
is
to pay
why
attention to.
someone like Angel Reese, I mean, she's certainly bringing. Let's face it. I mean, she's certainly bringing an attractiveness to the game that you don't see. I mean, a third of the
Well,
league
Angel,
is,
I
of a
understand
particular
that,
persuasion, but
but it's like I know in the past the WNBA players used to be a lot of them was on the other side, but this newer this newer wave, there's some that's basically embracing their femininity as far as when they
exactly.
off the court,
Yeah, like
they
Cameron
like
Brink
to
for the Spark. She's on
yes,
the cover of
yes,
Sports Illustrated. She's
yeah.
like 6'4", and they was like in LA, perfect. She was hanging out with one of the Kardashians, and it was her first game. So you right, Johnny. They're bringing that light, and I think that's what's going to take for
No
profitability.
question. Even that girl Cura Dorso, she's like 6'7",
Yeah.
but she's
Yeah, yeah.
Brazilian, so you can't hide the Brazil. She's tall, but the Brazil is still there. Go ahead, Dante.
No, I'm saying you're right because their walk ups. You know how they have the men walk ups, and the women have the walk ups, and like it's getting attention. So it's like there's a line to it. I'm just hoping that the guys be like the one guy. His page is wild. He talks about the WNBA, but
Oh,
I'll
I
say
think
this.
I know who you're talking about. He comes
Yeah,
with that pass and all that.
yeah, pass because
Yeah,
I watched his
yeah,
video.
yeah. I
That
ain't
dude is
going that far,
hilarious.
but yeah, that's
He said they sent him a cease and desist, man. That guy's wild. But to get back on the roll here, the WNBA and like the Ryan Clark and RG3 thing pose what is an interesting point for where they are. The reason why she has so many fans, obviously the range, but also politically the way things are. And I hate to bring this up. She's from Iowa, and if you just look at her comments, there are some people that we wouldn't probably all on this panel agree with politically. They're pushing their agenda through Caitlin Clark, and her and the WNBA are gonna have to navigate and be like, look, she already had to come out for the fans that said the racist stuff to Angel Reese and be like, oh, I'm not for that, even though they don't like each other, which is good for the game. Like you said, everybody said it was a hard foul. No harm. Hey, it's a little tough. You get feisty. That's fine. But what Ryan Clark was bringing out, and he should not have said directly his wife, RG3 is not really connected to the black community in his views of things. He's normally on the opposite side. And as far as the wife thing, let's not act like he don't call himself the milkman. He highlight part of his personality is the fact that yes, I like white women. And that's a bit uncomfortable. And I'm like, I cringe. I mute the TV when he used to come on ESPN just because it's uncomfortable. But in regards to what the WNBA needs to do, they just have to leverage, and not give too much deference to Caitlin Clark, but let's not beat up the moneymaker. And let's not beat up the cash cow. When the NBA found out, it's blasphemous to say, but when the NBA found out that, hey, this is how good Jordan is, they protected the Golden Goose. You couldn't just come up and just do things to him away that other players could at a certain point in time. On the way up, you could. Kaylin, hey, she's that. The other players need to, capitalize. Like Asia Wilson, who I would love if my daughter does play. I hope she does. Model your game after her. She has the signature shoe line. So the money is getting spread out everywhere and it's going to the rightful people. Like Napisha Collier, she's with Jordan Brand. Very respected. So it's just like they have to grow the game. And like you said, Caitlin Clark, they had her game with the Wings. It was at the AAC. They play at the UTA, it's a college here in Arlington.
Yeah.
They play there, and they had that game there, and those ticket prices, it showed that. So back to what we were saying about a superstar, she has the eyeballs on her. They have to capitalize, and I hope they have a profit, and I hope the game continues to grow. And like you say, we focus on basketball, and Angel Reese, I still root for her. She makes it tough at times with the maturity. She just got to work on the game, but I didn't realize the 500 points, 500 rebounds. So she is producing. I just hope it becomes more efficient. And that the Sky become a better team and get some guards. My God.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just take this back to, again, the personal beef between Ryan and RG. I mean, RG3's also been called out. Remember that reporter who called him Cornrow Brother back in the day?
Rob Parker.
Rob Parker. So again, he's always kind of had that. But Ryan's called him
And I
basically
never
he's a
had no
phony,
issue with RG3.
and so it's definitely something. Yeah, I've heard him speak. I think he's pretty good at what he does. And certainly as a commentator and whatnot. But I just think that personally, whatever you guys got, y'all need to just take that to the side and handle that. Certainly as men, but it doesn't have to be all out in the public like that. But but then having said that, again, I didn't like the optic with his wife being there, but look, it's his podcast. She can be wherever she wants. But certainly, the visual wasn't good. And then he was like saying, "Oh well, Angel Reese was about to punch her in the back of the head." I'm like, "Come on, bro. I mean,
Yeah,
how do you?"
and that's
He's
what
kind
Clark.
he's kind of painting this picture of
Exactly.
what Angel's going to do. I mean, she's not going to mess up her bag, I don't think. I mean, but again, hard fouls, people get up, people get emotional. That happens all the time. So again, I think he definitely embellished it a little bit, and I think that certainly would set Ryan off. But again, he had to, he put himself out there. So so guys, I mean, especially Ryan being the older guy. I think use a little more wisdom there. But with that, we're coming up to go ahead.
Well, you brought up the point about hey, they should try to connect somehow offline and squash stuff. Because we remember, and I think of course, I don't know dude personally, but I watch his podcast and stuff, so you get a kind of a taste of his personality. But you remember years ago, him and Stephen A. Before Ryan Clark really became an analyst, he was just starting out because he was still a player. Him and Stephen A. had like a back and forth one time.
And they had one a few
First,
months ago, actually. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just they had like a legit like going back, like they was going at each other and taking
Mhm.
shots at each other. And Stephen A was like, okay, this is not a good optics as far as you see two
Correct.
black
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
on the media. So he took the initiative to contact Clark. They squashed it. They've been
Right.
basically like
Yeah.
brothers
I
ever
don't think.
since.
The difference between him and Clark, I don't think that's doable. Because, like I said, they go all the way back to when they were players with Washington, and he didn't like him then. Then on Monday Night Football, he said, "I had to save you a few times because people were coming at you. I had to
Yeah,
bail and come in for you then." So again, I think I would love it if they would squash this beef.
yeah.
But I think Ryan legitimately does not like RG3. He called him a fake. He called him a phony. And that's just stuff you're not just gonna, get over in one conversation. You know what I mean?
I think
You
I
are
just
who
have a
you are.
feeling he probably would try to reach out just to squash it. Like I say, the optics. Now we're not expecting them to be as close as him and Stephen A are. They just
Mhm.
basically squash it because now look at it. You got two black men in the media space, and people are, it's a negative, optics, the results from it.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
They shouldn't. Yeah, they shouldn't be going back in public. But again, fortunately, they don't work. Imagine if they both still worked at ESPN. You would definitely see management call them into the room and be like, "Look, this stops now." You know what I mean? Definitely. But yeah, if they can just kind of stay in their lanes and whatnot, I don't think they never have to talk. But again,
yeah.
if anything needs to be aired, they can kind of keep that on the side.
Behind
But
closed doors. Yeah.
we're at the end of the show. So again, going into final thoughts, certainly again, it seems like OKC again, they're on a mission. They're up double digits, up 27 points right now. And again, just OKC. I mean, Minnesota. I don't think they ever had a chance here. Minnesota's on a mission, and I think only the Pacers can take them out because again, they have a same energetic style of play. They have a lot of guys who can score the basketball, and obviously, they're good defensive teams as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to for basketball's sake. I think it's good. I mean, people love having New York City. Certainly, and I know it's good for ratings. But Indiana's like basketball, especially for the Midwest. Indiana basketball is everything out there. So I think having them out there would certainly be good, certainly for that region of the country. And then for Oklahoma City, again, they haven't been back. I think it was 2011. I think the last time they were there with those
2012,
guys,
I think.
2012. So again, small market team. I certainly understand. And again, everyone's getting paid now anyway, especially with the TV revenue deals and whatnot. So I don't think it's as crucial. But certainly, you're seeing the lifeblood of the NBA, the young guys, these young teams who could be relevant for a while. So again, I think overall it'll be just a good brand of basketball that I think that hopefully that these guys come in and watch. But I still think the Knicks, I think they have a very good chance of winning Game 5. Go back for Game 6 in Indiana, anything can happen. But I don't think Indiana will take their foot off the gas the way they did in Game 3. So again, it's not like we're heading down towards that. But certainly I do like what I'm seeing here. Good quality basketball. And I'm looking forward to looking forward to this final when it comes up. But let's let these series play out. But Dante, any final thoughts before we close out the show?
Yeah, my final thoughts is basically I'm hearing the discourse already. Man, I know the NBA fans are gonna watch. Okay, we stop talking about the damn ratings. You've got two teams with good energy, good pace that they play with. Everybody loves to say, "Oh, they don't play defense anymore." Well, you got an all defender right there with Lou Dort, first team all defense, and you got a potential guy in that for the Thunder with the man, his name slipped my mind. With the center that they have, plays four. You got a chance with him, Chet Holmgren. You got a chance with him, like that move when he got crossed up the other night and recovered and blocked the shot. So you got that type of skill with you have the MVP. You have the first team All NBA. You have third team All NBA. Halliburton. So you have guys that are emerging, and you say, hey, everybody wants to have a chance. This is what the league built with the parity. So this the final big market team is getting ready to get knocked out. And a team that built through the draft, kept their guys, signed a key free agent actually away from New York and Hardenstein, and they're showing you Sam Presti, best in the business. I'm glad for it. I just like, look, I'm over the heartbreak of my team losing. Focus on some good ball, man.
He's got to deliver, though. I'm saying now.
I'm saying as far as best in the business, he can put the team together. That's on SGA and everybody else. When the GMs come together, if a GM keeps making it there or has the build, he can't play. He can only make now you can get on him if he doesn't make the right move, which this time I'm going to be critical of him if he does too much to get rid of the core too quickly. But the apron has already set that up to where dynasties aren't made. But the way he's drafted and got these guys there, I got to give him his props, though. The only thing he needs now is the icing on the cake. He needs that championship ring.
Yeah, for sure.
So good point on that.
Sean?
Well, first, I see Lady D's comment. I wish we had more time to go over that comment she made, because I would love to hear from a woman's perspective. I guess if because he has a white wife, he can't speak to
yeah.
He's not in tune. He's not in touch. I've kind of touched on that. He's not in touch, so that's a lane that he needs to stay out of. Whose wife and talking to black women? He needs to stay out of that. And unfortunately,
he does have black. I don't know if he has a sister. He has a black.
Yeah, he might have a mother or aunt, but it just from his comments on things, he seems really far removed. It looks like he's that guy that lives in that neighborhood, and he maybe him and maybe another guy is the only brothers in that neighborhood, and he's very comfortable with that.
His personality does remind me of somebody who is biracial, and they refuse to claim a side. They for example, Sage Steele.
Y'all tripping, man.
Sage Steele, she refused, even though she's half black, she refused to say she's a black woman. She said, I am mixed. And with RG3, it's not about his ethnicity. It's just he does seem to be he will not, almost like a fence straddler sometimes when it comes to his opinions on things. But I never really had an issue with RG3 personally. I never really had an issue. I know people say he's corny, but not. His personality.
Yeah, I'm not putting him in the Jason Whitlock category yet. But.
Oh no.
No.
That
bar is in hell.
Yeah, Whitlock. I mean, he's obsessed with and think that he did speak about this because he's not favorable about Stephen A. Smith. He's not favorable about Shannon Sharp or Ryan Clark. And when anybody has something against him, he will highlight it. In this case, RG3. but he always has something to say about Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith only talked to him about him that one time. But Whitlock, he's different. No, RG3 are not on Whitlock level, not even close.
Gotcha.
But
But just interesting how you kind of having these camps that are set up. So you talk about Sage Steele, you talk about Marcellus Wiley, you talk about, so again, just different views. How you have this sort of politicization even in the sports commentary spaces. What guys are going to be saying what. So I just find that interesting how that's forming. But Coach, you have the last word as always. Can you take us out?
I mean, great show, man. I'm glad you got your internet back, man. Listen, man, we can down to the final. I guess we'll be in the final two. We're ready for the NBA championship next week, man. Like I said, OKC, man, in 5, man. They playing great ball. Indiana's playing great ball. I'm excited to see if those teams play each other. Both of them are young. They'll be probably some of the youngest teams to ever make it to the finals. It'll be interesting to see. Both have a great style of fast-paced ball like we like. Both point guards are playing at the top of their game. Both have great supporting cast. So it's going to be really interesting, man. Watching Minnesota, they shouldn't even showed up. But no, man, listen, man, we'll see, man. It's a great time to get outside, man. Go visit some family somewhere, barbecue, man. Get the kids to the park, man. Find a park with a merry-go-round and a seesaw and you remember that little figurine that used to sit on the spring, that big spring, you get on it and you rock back and forth.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I know.
Let them get on that, man. That'll knock all that slowness out of them for the summer, man. They'll be great kids going forward. But yeah, man, it's a great time, man. Get out and, get some sun, man. We all need it, man. So salute to everybody, man.
No doubt.
But one last
Tony,
one.
one more point. Go ahead.
Yeah, my thing is based on this game, and this will be something we can discuss next week. Because right now he's not having a good game at all. How do you feel like this game is going to affect Anthony Edwards' legacy? I know all the talk about the game he came off last game. It really just game 3. He really showed up like the Ant-Man that we expect. But this game is he took
I don't know. Listen,
shots.
I can't talk about legacy at 23. So, and who knows? More than likely, he'll be out of there. He may join one of the bigger teams out there. The Knicks may want him, or some other big franchise or whatnot. And that's the hard part with a lot of these. I think Indy has a core group that they can, they can keep those guys together for a while. And same thing with OKC. But I don't know about with Minnesota. Can they keep that homegrown talent there? And will he want to seek greener pastures elsewhere? To do that, but 23 years old, he's still a baby out there. If he's like 26, 27, and then we talk about what his legacy is, but he and again, like I said, OKC is a beast, and he's going up against that, and it may take him a minute, just like Jordan had to get over the Celtics and the Pistons.
Yeah, it's one thing
before,
about losing, but he's having some bad games. I'm like, damn it, man. Unless he comes out second half, they're already down by 35.
Turn off the game.
Oh
I got
God.
one final comment. I got one final commentary before I go, because I don't think I ever talk about this. I'm a sucker for one auto race per year. And that's the Indianapolis 500. It's the only race I follow. I don't really follow NASCAR a whole lot, but Indy 500, y'all gotta fix that. So basically, the big scandal that happened a couple weeks ago, you got Roger Penske, who's been synonymous with IndyCar for 40, almost 50 years, owns the Indianapolis 500, owns the Motor Speedway. Imagine if Jerry Jones owned the NFL, and then his team, the Cowboys, get penalized for doing stuff to their cars or whatnot, and getting suspended, certainly in the game. So I think there's definitely a conflict of interest there. I don't know how they fix it. I mean, he owns everything over there. He's got the money and influence over there.
The race.
He owns the Speedway, and he owns like the Indy 500. I mean, he owns the branding of that. You know what I mean? So again, but his main cars, and this happened 2 years in a row. His main cars, they put him back in the 11th row, and you had the guy who won Newgarden won back-to-back. He was going for 3 this time. He was in contention in the last 50 laps of the race. He was in contention until his car gave out in the pits. So, so again, I think they need to do something about that. Again, too much power, centralized power. I don't think it's ever good for the sport. And so, I think they need to do something. I don't know what they can do because he owns everything. So I don't know what you can do with him. But that's a problem. But certainly congrats to the man from Spain who won this year's Indy 500. Young guy, very exciting guy in the field. And unfortunately, the Indy 500 is the only oval race. I'm an oval race guy. All right. So again, I don't like city races and Grand Prix stuff is boring. So again, but because of that accident that happened back in 2011, they've cut down on all their oval tracks. Because again, just going at that speed, they're just afraid of stuff happening. Dan Weldon got deleted back in 2012, and they really haven't put on. They've been cutting their ovals down ever since. So the Indy 500 is the only oval on the Indy schedule for the year, and they got about a dozen races on the schedule. So y'all got to clean that up. Bring back some ovals. Yes, it comes with risk, but if you think it's risky now, go back to the 50s and 60s. They had several deaths per year. That was just part of the sport, and guys were willing to do that. So I'm like, look, I don't want anybody going out. Make the car safer, make them better, just like NASCAR did when Dale Earnhardt died or whatever. They car tomorrow. They put all that stuff in. Make the races safer, but don't take away the races. Because I think the Indy 500 is still the most exciting race, in my humble opinion, in sports, especially the last few years. The races are being decided within the last 5 laps is when races are getting decided. So, I'm hoping that they can bring that energy back for it. But with that, again, thank you once again all for joining us tonight. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And until next time, you guys take care. God bless. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Peace.